Hello, Carrie Burchell here with Shine Like a North Star. Today we're going to talk about readiness for change. So, this comes out of a few conversations I've had with some consultants lately and also people that I serve, clients, around shifts in the organizations that we serve and how people are trying to either recognize the right change that needs to happen, so that innovative space, or engaging people in the change that needs to happen, which is really creating buy-in and change management. And so, this segment of all of that work today that I want to help you think through as a leader is how do you assess people's readiness for change? So, I've got a little bit of a personal story as I reflect on my own change. So, very excited to share this new backdrop that I have behind me. I have been an entrepreneur for a few years, but I've really devoted the last, 9 months to 100% consultant in the leadership space, helping people slow down, build trust, improve communication, all that kind of stuff. And devoting a room in our house and a space. I'm full-time committed to this, so I'm working from home outside of when I leave to help clients and stuff. And I was in a space that looked like this. It used to be this gray background. I wonder if I need to make this bigger for you. So gray background, not super fantastic fit with the colors, not my brand colors. And I had someone generously go and actually sent me paint chits. You know, those little paint sample that you get from like Lowe's or Home Depot or Sherwin-Williams, whatever. And some of them were this yellow color. Now, this was a year ago that this friend sent me pictures and said, like, Carrie, I've got to tell you, the gray is terrible. Like, you need to paint the back wall. Well, we just moved into the house. I was resistant to change. My partner, Keith, is an expert painter, and they just had the house painted professionally before we bought it. Like, nothing's broken, right? Why fix it? And I knew that she was right. My friend Sarah Steele, she's an artist herself, paints, knows colors, sent me some really great samples. I even started changing like the colors of clothes that I wore on lives because I got the concept, but just wasn't really ready to sort of get paint, make the change, do something more permanent in the house. So I was a little resistant to change. So if we think about that in this great change cycle, let me flip here to a different view for you. I was part of this resistant category, right? I was resistant to change. I was not in this like let's buy into it, and the ready and willing just not happening, even though I could see that the colors were kind of crappy. Now, I give you this background because I want you to enjoy the new colors, which by the way match my brand, and use it as a bit of a case study on how do we assess people's readiness for change. I may have picked up a paintbrush and just done it myself, but years ago, I got fired from painting because I'm like on the phone talking to my sister, rolling away. This is like 20 years ago, and I am making a heck of a mess on this wall. Like, my husband's having to sand it down after and repaint because I wasn't paying any attention. Not a detailed person myself. I don't paint anymore for good reason. I don't know, maybe you're in that category too. So it was really up to my husband, and I wasn't going to nudge him because he's super busy. The gray wasn't broken. Like, I didn't get the why behind the change. There was an argument for it, but I was the, late adopter section, right? I wasn't the mainstream. Well, now that we're here, and I've done some bigger work around branding and marketing and sort of aligning all the colors, it looks awesome, if I do say so myself. Great job, handsome painting. And if you looked up at the ceiling, he cut the lines perfectly. Like, I just feel so lucky to have his talent. Anyways, slow to change, right? And my friend could have pushed and nudged and done a lot of things to sort of make me ready for change. But we all know if you're pushing a boulder, people aren't really ready. So I want to offer 3 tips to help you assess people's readiness for change so that you don't waste a bunch of energy working with people that are maybe just not there or not going to get there for whatever reason, right? We need to change how we're doing things now, shift our mindsets, get innovative with the people that are ready to do that. Because I sort of say that we fall into 2 camps when it comes to change. One is I buy in ahead of time. Like, I believe that this is going to be valuable. So yeah, I'm like championing it, go gadget. The other is I'm the late adopter. I'm only going to believe that it's worth it once it's implemented and I see its value, right? So since this wall has been painted, my husband graciously did it, like not a complaint out of him. But I pulled up the gray old picture that I just showed you and the yellow picture showing him and said, like, look, when we look at it side by side, and both of us are like, oh my gosh, that is so much better, right? But it was the late adopter on his part to really see the contrast. And on my part too, like to even ask for the change, right? I was a resistant person too. So let's talk about 3 strategies for assessing and really engaging people in their readiness. The first one is if we think through those 3, let me go back to that for a second, those 3 broad areas of the change management tool, you'll see that there's the resistant category change, 68%, and then the ready and willing. So it would be helpful in that first tip of assessing people's readiness for change if you develop some characteristics. So if people are ready, what does that look like? If people are the change agency, what does that look like? And if they're the early adopters, what does that look like? Literally with the change agent committee around whatever project you're doing, list behaviors that you would see from people who are really resistant, people who are like mainstream, they're on board 68%, we're going to roll with it. And then the early adopters. That helps you identify leveraging people wherever they're at, right? So early adopters might be great champions. We might give them a different role when it comes to communicating the work. The sort of mainstream 68%, the change agency folks, they're going to engage, maybe be a part of pilot groups, do that kind of stuff. And then the resistant people, that's where you kind of assess, like, what are their needs to become more ready? And who in that group is maybe, I'm pushing a boulder, it doesn't matter how much we build the case for whatever we're doing, they're not going to be a part of it, right? So give some thought to those 3 categories, the resistant, the change agents, and then the early adopters, and really get concrete around these are the behaviors that we would see from these people so that you can quickly assess where people are at on that change bell curve. First strategy. Second strategy is to then ask people questions if they are the resistant folks. And there's a good argument to say asking questions at all stages, but obviously those resistant people could really derail the change work. So asking great open-ended questions to sort of think, what is going on in your head? Like, tell me, I want to understand more. I mean, I've built the case, I've done all the great change management tools, and connect with me if you want to understand those a little more. But I've done the communication, I've explained the why, I've got the elevator speech now, like all this good work has happened, right? We've got a shared need, shared vision, and we still have these people that are resistant, right? What has you resisting? Right? Ask the open-ended questions. What's been your experience related to this thing that we're trying to implement? What are your other thoughts on alternatives? Like, just openly and without bias, get in their head. So ask great questions. The third tip to really nudge people in that readiness cycle is to ask them what they're willing to do to engage. So not if they're willing to engage, because they've clearly shown I'm the resistor, I'm not willing to engage. This is where you ask them for their commitment. What are they willing to commit to? What are they willing to pitch in on? What are they willing to champion? What are they willing to stop doing to be a better team player? Get a commitment. Ask them flat out, how can I rely on you to ready yourself for this change? Simple strategies, right? But it involves slowing down to go fast, right? Slowing down to say, what are the behaviors that we would see with people that resist, buy in, and are early adopters, so that we can quickly assess where people are at. And that guides my then next step of number 2 tip of asking those great questions to get in people's head that are resisting. And the fact is, what's going on in their head is probably going to give you some good stuff to campaign around, market around, language to sort of champion the change that you're doing. And the third step, of course, is asking those resistors for a commitment on something. The change is going to happen. We're going to implement this. What are you going to do to fill in the blank, right? Be less negative, be on board, stop doing X behavior, start doing Y behavior. So get a commitment from them. Let's be transparent. I'm holding your feet to the fire. I expect some things from you as your leader, as someone who's given this project a ton of work. I'm the decision maker around this change, meaning I've done the research. Like, you may not trust the initiative. We're still moving forward. I've got to trust you to fall in line at some point, right? So give me a commitment. Anyways, it made me think about my beautiful yellow wall now that aligns with my North Star coaching, Northern Star. If you've not seen the logo, it's pretty nice. And really in reflection, like, what was my hold up on the gray, right? It wasn't a weekend job. I mean, my husband did 3 layers of paint because it was gray and it just took that much to fill it up. But it wasn't like a million hours, right? What was holding me back? And I wonder if someone had more of that conversation with me, if I could have articulated, I thought it would take too long, my husband's too busy. Well, it didn't take that long. It wasn't me doing it, of course. My husband was so willing to do it. He said, like, you never asked for anything, Carrie. I'd be happy to do this for you. Right? In my head, my resistance was, oh, he's too busy. It didn't take that long. Oh, I don't want to bother him. He was happy to just honor me doing this, right? I'm not sure if it makes that big of a difference. Well, let's, buy some poster paper and paint it and just put it back there and see if it makes a difference. That would have been a stepping stone to us sort of doing this great backdrop. Anyway, super happy with the end product. Change is good. Let's embrace it. Whether it's something as transactional as painting a back wall behind your drop of your office, or something more meaningful, which is really the work that we need to do now, right? Getting in that innovative space. There was a Sun and Shine quote recently, and I'm paraphrasing, but it was basically saying, if you're doing stuff the same way as 2020, you're nuts. If you're doing things with the same mindset as 2020, you're nuts. If you're doing things with the same role and the same people, you're nuts, right? We need to change things because we don't want to go nutty, right? It's just not fun to try to fit the round peg in the square hole. It's not 2020 anymore. I would love to be a part of your journey. We have a variety of leadership development programs that we offer, or roundtable groups if you want that space to kind of slow down and think and learn from other leaders. I'd love you to be a part of our roundtables too. So my name's Carrie Burchell. Search me out on LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram. Of course, I'd love you to be in our email list. We send out newsletters with fun tips like the ones I'm sharing with you today. Be safe, everyone, and be innovative, because we need you to embrace the change so that we pull out and move to that space that you want to move to as a leader. Bye.